Two sports, two governing bodies, same 3 weeks. And in both of them, a rule that says the official's decision is final, sitting next to a mechanism that lets the institution change the consequence anyway. Start with football, because the timeline there is not in dispute. 1st of July 2026, World Cup. The United States striker Ferrari Balogun is sent off against Bosnia for stepping on an opponent's ankle. A red card carries an automatic one-match ban, and FIFA's own disciplinary code states that decisions taken by the referee on the field are final and cannot be reviewed by FIFA's judicial bodies. Then the ban is suspended. FIFA uses Article 27, which allows a judicial body to suspend, fully or partially, the implementation of a disciplinary measure. Balogun plays against Belgium, and the reason it happened is on the record, from the man who did it. Donald Trump told reporters at the White House that he asked for a review because he did not think it was a foul, and that he raised it with FIFA President Gianni Infantino. The Belgian Federation said it was astonished, called the decision unprecedented and impossible to justify, and pointed to the articles that make the one-match ban automatic. FIFA replied that the sanction was not lifted, that a $40,000 fine was issued, that the decision considered the specific circumstances, and that Article 27 had been used before, including for Cristiano Ronaldo, Nicolas Otamendi, and Moises Caicedo. Wayne Rooney told the BBC the decision was an absolute disgrace. NPR CBS News. Same tournament, second story, and I am going to tell this one exactly as it stands. After the opening game against Algeria, the Algerian Federation filed a formal complaint with FIFA over a challenge by Lionel Messi on Issa Mandi that went unpunished by the referee and by the video assistant. Refereeing analysts defended that call, arguing it lacked the intensity for a sending off. Then in the round of 16, Egypt led Argentina by 2 goals, with 11 minutes remaining, and lost. Egypt's federation filed a complaint against the referee. Egypt's coach Hossam Hassan said there may have been pressure on the officials to keep Argentina in the tournament. FIFA's refereeing chief, Pierluigi Collina, rejected the bias claim outright, said the officials worked with complete independence, and defended the disallowed goal with the line that a foul is a foul whether or not it looks obvious. After the final, a petition passed 80,000 signatures asking for the match to be replayed. Al Jazeera. I am going to be exact with you, because this is where channels like this one usually stop being useful. No evidence of corruption has been proven in any of those cases. Collina denied it, analysts defended the Messi call. What Egypt and Algeria filed were complaints, not findings. If you came here to be told a competition was fixed, I do not have that, and neither does anybody else who has looked. What exists is something narrower and, honestly, more useful. A rule declaring the official's call final, a separate clause letting the body change the consequence at its own discretion, with reasons it is not obliged to publish, and no route of appeal for the person punished. Now cross the road into Formula 1 and count how many of those 3 you find. 1/10 of a kilometer per hour. That is what the sensors measured Lewis Hamilton over the pit lane limit by at the Hungaroring. Automatic 5-second penalty. He crossed the line 4th on the road and was classified 5th behind his own teammate. 4th sanction in 3 race weekends. On the radio, he said they were handing out penalties like crazy. And afterwards, he said something colder. That every opportunity he gives those stewards, every single time they give him a penalty. Race fans, subscribe before we go into the documents, because the middle of this video has a moment where the stewards themselves change their answer. And tell me in the comments what country you are watching from, because one of the cases in this video came from you. Now, who is telling you this? Fred Vasseur has run a Formula 1 team through 3 regulation cycles, and his team lost the positions. He is the one person with a commercial interest in calling this persecution, because it would cost him nothing and buy him a week of sympathy. He did not do it. Asked about the run of penalties, Vasseur said it is hard to put them all in the same basket. On the Spa collision with George Russell, he said that if you asked him whether Hamilton should do it again, he would ask him to do exactly the same because there was nowhere else to go. And 2 days before the Hungary race, on the grid drop for impeding Oscar Piastri, Vasseur took the blame himself. It's our mistake, he said, and explained Hamilton got the information much too late to react. Planet F1 Yahoo Sports. The team boss is defending the stewards more carefully than the stewards are defending themselves. So follow the chain and let us put the official logic under the light. Was the pit lane penalty correct by the letter? Yes. Limiter released early, sensors caught it, sanction is automatic. Was the Silverstone false start correct by the letter? The steward said the movement was visible on the onboard footage, that its small size does not cancel the infringement, and they cited Article B511(1) by name. So, also, yes. Was Spa correct? Thinner because the driver spun out of the race. George Russell said publicly it was a racing incident. And the Hungary grid drop? The stewards recognized Ferrari's late warning played a part and imposed the 3-place penalty anyway. 4 decisions, 3 defensible on paper. And here's the line nobody built a headline around. Hamilton said that in the driver's briefing, they had discussed the fact that the stewards are inconsistent on the start procedure, that drivers had moved in the past without being penalized, and that the stewards agreed with him. They agreed. The penalty came anyway, which brings us to the mirror, and I will narrate this one without adjectives because it does not need any. Belgian Grand Prix. Turn 5, Les Calmes. 2 collisions on the same corner on the same afternoon. In the first, Hamilton made contact with Russell on lap 1, and Russell went into the gravel and out of the race. 5-second penalty. In the second, Charles Leclerc squeezed Oscar Piastri on the entry to the same corner. They touched. The McLaren took floor damage. No penalty. The stewards explained Piastri did not have his front axle far enough alongside to have a claim on the corner. Read separately, each of those can be defended, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. But they did not happen separately. Same corner, same day, same panel. Within days, the drivers had a formal meeting scheduled with the FIA in Hungary, and Belgium was the reason. And now hold that thought, because it has just widened. The meeting happened Thursday night in Budapest, one of 2 annual gatherings between drivers and stewards. And at it, according to the race, the stewards agreed with the drivers that a future repeat of what Leclerc did to Piastri would likely be penalized. Sit with that. The panel accepted the same incident would be judged differently going forward. The Spa classification did not move. Piastri does not get the floor back. Hamilton does not get the 5 seconds back. The rule gets clearer for next time. The points from last time stay where the old reading left them. So here's your vote, and the like button is the ballot. If you are Vasseur, you have 2 doors and both are bad. Door 1, you say publicly that the panel is inconsistent. You get the fan base and the headlines, and you get a steward's office that reads your car number differently for the rest of the season. Door 2, you swallow it. You blame your own pit wall, you protect the relationship, and your driver stands there alone taking the questions. Like if you take door 1, comment if you take door 2, and subscribe, because which one he actually took is in the last third. Now the arithmetic, because a number that stays a number is worth nothing. 1/10 of a kilometer per hour converted is smaller than the width of the white line the car crosses on the way out of the pit lane. That measurement moved Hamilton from 4th to 5th. In a season where Ferrari and McLaren are trading fractions, one position in the constructors' fight is the kind of margin that decides where a team finishes the year, and where a team finishes the year decides what it is paid. So that is not a driving standard. It is a commercial outcome, and this is where the football comparison stops being a comparison and starts being the same problem twice. Mohammed Ben Sulayem was re-elected FIA president on the 12th of December, 2025, at the General Assembly in Tashkent. He ran unopposed. 3 people had announced they would stand against him, and none made the ballot because the FIA requires every presidential candidate to name a vice president from each of 6 global regions, and only 1 South American candidate was approved, Fabiana Ecclestone, who supports Ben Sulayem. A Paris court declined to suspend the election and ordered the electoral process examined at trial, first hearing set for the 16th of February, 2026. Viller's lawyer said the result could be examined, questioned, or annulled. In April, the FIA's own deputy president Robert Reid resigned, criticizing the governance and the lack of transparency. And if you were here for the video on the swearing fines, you already know Hamilton and Ben Sulayem have history on the record. Look at the structure underneath, because almost nobody explains this part. The permanent pool of Formula 1 stewards is 12 people for the entire season. 4 chairs, 3 former drivers, 5 number 2 stewards, rotating, plus 1 national steward per event. They are not salaried. They receive an expense allowance, which the FIA itself has acknowledged is unusual for a sport this size, and it is now considering paying them properly, partly because former drivers currently prefer television work. The FIA also remains opposed to permanent stewards, and its stated reason is that permanence creates bias. So the official position is that rotation prevents bias. The complaint from the grid is that rotation produces inconsistency. Both are true at once, and the sport has not decided which one it is willing to pay for. Now, the strongest case against everything I have said, because it deserves a real hearing. Hamilton earned 4 of those penalties. He released the limiter early. He moved before the lights. He hit Russell. He was in Piastri's way. He said himself that he takes ultimate responsibility. His own team principal blamed Ferrari for 1 and called another plain racing. Ferrari's pit stop that afternoon was slow, the wheel locked, the release was rushed. All of that is true, and if a driver hands a rotating panel 4 opportunities in 3 weekends, a rotating panel will take them. That is not a conspiracy. That is arithmetic. And I will admit what I cannot know. I do not know what was said in that steward's room, and I do not know whether the same panel would have measured a different car the same way on the same lap. Neither does anyone posting a screenshot about it. Here is what survives all of it. The stewards agreed with Hamilton about the start procedure and penalized him anyway. They told the drivers in Budapest they would judge Lecombe differently in future. And the Spa result still stands. The federation says rotation prevents bias, while the grid says rotation produces inconsistency. And in the other sport, a ban the rulebook calls automatic stopped being automatic after a phone call. In both bodies, the organization that made the call is the organization that reviews the call, and in both, the president spent this year answering questions about how he got the job. That is not an accusation. It is an org chart. He did not answer the question about whether he trusts the process. 2 weeks later, he was still in the same car, still 1/10 of a kilometer per hour from a different result, and the panel that took it from him was already writing a clearer rule for somebody else. So tell me which one you believe, and be specific. Governance problem or driving problem? Like if you think the system is the story. Comment if you think Hamilton is. And name the one decision this season you still cannot explain, because that list is where the next video comes from. Zandvoort is next, and the same 12 names are still the pool. Watch who chairs it. Subscribe so you get the breakdown when the 16th of February hearing produces a verdict on how the FIA president got his second term, because that is the document that decides whether any of this changes. Until the next one.